Hey guys, I'm Vedi and today I'm going to be reacting to this tips and tricks video that Agent Mains supposedly have never told you by Mr. Great Returning here. I think I'm pretty qualified to give my input on this video considering the amount of time I played the class, so without further ado, let's just begin the video.
Would you like to be a better agent?
Honestly, yeah, no matter how long you've been playing and what class you play, there's always room for improvement. So, and even then, I haven't really been playing for a couple months now, so I think I do need this kind of video.
In this video, I will give you what agent mains do not tell you, the tips and tricks they have on their sleeves in order to become an
I hope it's not just basic stuff like, oh, like use your gun.
Agent main, with plans of making this video series open source, meaning your tips and tricks in the comments will be mentioned in
Or you could just make a reaction video like I am.
the next video. Before we begin, this video is fully inspired by Sushi, and this video, 10 agent tips you should know, and I would
Honestly, this is a really good shout because Sushi was the only person to make a video or a guide on how to play agent, and this is basically the only source of how to get better at playing agent back in the day. I don't know how many guides are out there now, but at least back when I started out, this was definitely what inspired me to get better.
This video is fully inspired by Sushi, and this video, 10 agent tips you should know, and I would like to make my own agent video fully inspired by it. Now, without further delays, this is the tips and tricks DC2 agent mains never told anyone. Enjoy! Let's begin with number 1. The most important thing to remember for beginner agents, and that is the mistake of not using your gun, and always
Okay, dude, I got called it. John Hill dupe, bro. Let's see what this guy has to say.
relying on our knife. While it is satisfying to do as much as backstabs as it can, it is important to know that agent's primary is actually very helpful while securing kills, especially if the enemy is too far to stab. The most embarrassing thing to ever happen is stabbing a marksman with a razorback, or how you would
Not necessarily, because at least for me, what I like to do with marksmen with the razorback is just backstab them and act like you're running away, like, oh my god, like my knife didn't work, I didn't expect that, and just kill them as they're trying to come towards you because they're like, oh, free kill.
fail a backstab and try to backstab again, or chasing after someone even though it is clear you could never catch up with them while obviously having a clear shot. So please, use your gun as the primary and the knife as the secondary.
I don't know if I agree with this. I use the knife 90% of the time and gun 10% of the time, but even then that might even be like 5% just because the knife is so powerful. It's a one shot, while the gun heavily relies upon how well you aim it, and at least for me, my aim is not the best. Maybe that's why I chose the only melee class.
Tip number 2. Advanced sapping. Is this something familiar to you? You forget to sap everything in the nest, and even if you do, the mechanic already fixed all of them, which leads to
Okay, I haven't listened fully to what he said yet, but just from looking at this clip, what I would have done is gone for the sentry. The mechanic probably would have reacted and backstab the mechanic, take the teleporter, sap it out, but keep the dispenser alive because there is a couple of other people on the other team who can attack you, but if you just keep the dispenser alive, that's just some extra health that will keep you in the fight and increase your chances of surviving.
this. What you actually want to do is either independently kill the mechanic after sapping the nest, or let an opportunity opens and your friends kill the mechanic, so you can sap the nest and
It should be the other way around, with you sap the buildings, especially the sentry, just because it shut down it can shut down a lot of areas. And if you just sap it, then your teammate will have a lot of opportunity to push forward and take control of the point or whatever you guys are capturing.
Finish them off with a gun. You need to finish off these buildings, otherwise there's a chance that they will be fixed.
Yeah, I agree with this. The only building you really need to shoot off most of the time is the teleporter, just because the mechanic is most likely to spawn upgrading their stuff. But you can also take down other stuff too, like the sentry. Just if the mechanic is close by and you want to take it out, you're just trying to sacrifice yourself for the gun. And the dispenser, it's not really worth it, just because dispensers are usually near a health pack, but it definitely can impact the healing of the other team.
Though you're walking away from Sap Nest, some mechanic on the other side could be trying to fix the teleporter and fix everything back.
Yeah.
So it is really important to destroy these as soon as possible, which greatly wastes their time and reinforcements. It is also good to stop the buildings while your friends are there, helping you to provide that destruction, especially
Okay, yeah, I guess he corrected himself from earlier.
with sentries, as you could see here. Overall, sap safely and destroy them as soon as safe as possible.
Not really. As agent, you're always going to be in danger no matter what you're doing. So you just have to sacrifice yourself for the sentry pick or teleporter. Doesn't really matter. Because imagine how many other people are going to come through the teleport if you don't take it out. But he's right about shooting it.
Tip number 3. Pretend you do not exist. You may be confused with this section, but let me show you what I mean. One of this is disguise, spam E, shuffle, face forward, stab.
Well, it's not really pretending that you don't exist, it's just pretending that you don't exist as an enemy. And I think he was talking about spamming E here. It can work for newer players, but he's not fake reloading or moving at all
Spam E,
to the objective. So I just think at least what he's doing here is not gonna work out for if you're going against a more experienced player.
shuffle, face forward, stab, and disguise back. It is the most basic trickery you could ever do as an agent, whether you are a beginner or not, and mastering this pattern is really necessary.
I guess it depends what playstyle you're going for, because I'm sure most agent players on TC2 are trick stabbers and only use the flanker to disguise. I myself am one. But if you're trying to go for disguise only, or just using it for the psychology kind of part, I think, yeah, it does work out. But you have to know or just understand where a class should be. So it's a really good idea to, get used to playing the other classes and experiencing what it's like to play as them.
You want to be good at backstabbing. And the main point is, you pretend you do not exist. You can pretend by disguising as one of your teammates, which will confuse the enemy. It is recommended to disguise as a friendly marksman or an enemy agent if you are far in the back, since that will fool everyone, especially if they assume you are just a marksman or their friend agent. Act like the other.
Even the stupidest players, I think, on TC2 will still spy check and attack anything and everything that they see moving. So I don't really feel like it's worth the time and positioning to disguise yourself as a friendly agent or an enemy agent, just because it's not gonna work out most of the time.
Team by shuffling, moving side to side, shouting for a medic to come.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Pressing the fake reload, don't spam it, but definitely use it if it looks like you're coming out of a fight.
Face forward to the front lines and stab and discuss back, preferably to the one you killed. And you can do it all over again. They would never suspect you. By really acting like the other team through this method, It is a guarantee win, or at the very least, they would never make progress, since they will be paranoid.
So here, I think that's an agent. They're reloading a lot of rockets, and I think an experienced person, even just an average person, understands that the direct hit does not have what he's been reloading like 3 times, 12 rockets. So just be very careful about when you reload and how many times you do it, and in front of who you do it.
Tip number 4. Try disrupting logistics. Speaking of paranoid players, it is good to make it by disrupting logistics. You might notice with most of these clips you see involve me stabbing players or sapping teleporters that are nearby the spawn, right by the doors. It is intentional.
Isn't this just the same section from earlier about advanced sapping?
And that is because it has 3 benefits. The teleporters will be sapped, denying access to any power class mercenaries, like the trooper, to be in the front lines, killing said power class mercenaries before they even enter the front lines. And lastly, and most importantly,
So I guess the point of this section is spawn killing. Spawn killing works maybe 1, maybe 2 times on the same person, and it can be effective only if you're going against really bad players, because with projectiles you just spam them outside, you can just air blast, overheal, it doesn't really matter. Agent can spawn kill, but she can just as easily be killed instantly.
their paranoia will affect their gameplay and waste important time for the timer. These all sound good, but it is highly conditional, since it is most useful for payload maps while playing as green, where the red teleporters are universally needed. With them gone, you basically turn the tides. Killing one power class could mean the end of everything, since you are essentially denying their damage dealers.
Yeah, because teleporters are probably the best thing in the game, because they just pretty much change your spawn to wherever the mechanic places the exit, and it saves a lot of time. But if you take that out, it is removing that new spawn for so many players, and the brute especially is affected by this the most, because the only means of getting towards the front lines is through the speed coil.
Removing the headache for your team and giving to the enemy. If you kept dying in the field, consider doing this, as this is a way agents can support their team. Tip number 5. Now on the subject of breaking even more logistics, let us learn and master Telefragging. Telefragging is defined when an agent subs an entrance teleporter sitting on it, and as soon as the mechanic is finished repairing it at the exit, the teleporter will trigger, squishing the mechanic or anyone standing directly on it. As an agent, it is important to take advantage.
So the way you take advantage of it is often when the mechanic is in a very stressful fight, just trying to keep all the buildings alive, and they'll just sit on top of the teleporter and they won't be thinking about if agent's going to telefrag or not. But when that does happen, you will often get the frag. But more often than not, the engineer is upgrading their sentry, keeping alive, upgrading the Spencer, keeping alive for the rest of the team, and they don't really pay much attention to the teleporter, although it's the most important building.
Of this as soon as possible, suggesting that you should do it as soon as the round starts, so that respawn enemies do not spawn yet, and mechanic sentries and dispensers are at their worst. So if you could just squish the mechanic, all of you.
I don't really understand this part, because it's worse if you destroy the buildings when they're fully upgraded, because that just wastes a lot more time. If you destroy things at the start of the round, doesn't really do much because they weren't doing much anyway.
Problems will be gone, plus doing something like this. But be careful though. Just because you have squished the mechanic does not mean you're safe. You would become overconfident, taking on, for example, the arsonist guarding the nest, as I had. Do it
It's not really about overconfidence, it's just when you take the teleporter, you often have to face a lot of enemies in a short amount of time, and it's pretty stressful when you take it, because yes, the Homewrecker Arsonist is gonna unsap all the sapping that you have done, but just try to get the rest of the team
as possible once or twice around. Otherwise, they would wisen up and actually repair their teleporters while not standing on them. So yes, a trick agent mates never told you that you should do to be a better agent.
Telefragging does not make you a better agent.
Tip number 6. Keep level-headed. This is a tip that most, if not all, of agent mates have in order to play agent to their full potential, and that is to be calm and to think your actions through. While this tip is true to all of the classes in game, even any other game for that matter, it takes much more being as agent. Remember, your character is supposed to be like.
I think instead of his reasoning, the reason you should be calm is just because as agent you're gonna be dying the most, just because you don't really have the most overpowered kit, and that's why the kill death ratio is often so low, unless you're in a bad server with bad players. But just try not to get too frustrated, because not only is that gonna ruin the enjoyment of playing agent, it's just gonna make your gameplay sloppy, and you're gonna get worse, in fact.
So you do not need to be demoralized whenever you die. This is because agent is a glass cannon. One shot kills, but also she takes one shot to be killed. That is why you need to keep calm and choose your targets well, in order for that chain stab you always wanted. You do not want to be careless, which also includes not picking a fight after her counters, the flankers and arsonists, which is the death sentence for any agents, with the reasons of flankers having the fastest movement speed and arsonists having the flamethrower. Avoid these classes the most and take a deep breath of what to do next, so you will not be rage baited. If all else fails, quit the game and take a short break. You deserve it.
That's right, because you don't want to continue bad gameplay when you're frustrated, because then that's just going to set the tone for the next time you play. And that was a big realization starting out, because I used to get so frustrated every time I would die, like, oh my god, like, why didn't I get that backstab, whatever. But once I started accepting the failure and just learning from them, I progressed a lot faster. So if you're trying to get better, just like this guy says, like, be calm.
Tip number 7. Choosing the right loadout. That is why TC2 has 9 classes, each with their own unique arsenal, so they have their own style of gameplay. In the form of the agent, she too has an arsenal of 7 primaries, 4 secondaries, 6 melees, and 5 tertiaries, each of them having their advantages and disadvantages, as well as synergies, to achieve a unique playstyle of the player. Though, for the sake of time, we need to discuss which melee loadout is right for you. This is agent's signature of a one-shot backstab.
Most agent knives, besides stock, I mean all agent knives, have some kind of reward upon death. Well, I don't think the ice skull, I haven't played with that, but they're just passive stuff. Like the kunai gives more health, the you instantly disguise as the person you kill. They can go on and on.
Knife lay. First, we have the default stock knife, or the butterfly knife. It has no disadvantages or advantages, as it is literally her basic knife. It deals damage and it does one-shot backstab the same as any other knife. Your first knife experience being an agent, and recommend it to everyone without downsides, since it is a well-rounded juster.
So if you're transitioning to playing with other knives, do not immediately go for that different knife. You definitely need to just practice getting the backstabs first with the stock knife, because like he says, there's no downsides to using it, as well as no upsides, but that's what helps you get the basic grasp of getting the backstab, just because all knives are similar in that fashion that you just go for the backstab and yeah.
Courage knife. Next, we have the Conniver's Cone knife, or the Vampire knife, which absorbs the health of the player who backstab, which then will slowly negate every second, with the disadvantage of having less health while equipping the knife. Good.
This is probably the most popular knife, probably besides stock, just because it's associated with like spy, because it's just so overpowered. Well, it was until they nerfed it. I think in the one of the summer updates, that was pretty devastating for a lot of agent players, including myself. Just because this knife, everybody was using it, nothing else. It did deserve the nerf, but I don't think the less health after getting quick kills is a good way to balance a knife. I think they should revert that.
First choice for starting agents, as it is useful when learning of picking big targets, like brutes or troopers, since the knife can absorb the health once you backstab them, and then you have enough.
I don't think it's useful. Like, it's useful in the sense that you get more health, but it's not useful for the learning curve, just because if you get too used to being reckless and going for the kill, then that just creates bad habits for you in the future when you are switching to different watches or different knives.
Health to take some hits from anyone who notices, and you can run away. Next, with the Swift Stiletto, a knife which can give you temporary bonus movement speed after a successful kill using the knife, in exchange for having less health on agent, similar to the former. Another good choice for any beginner agents, and it is useful for practicing backstabs, since you can do a hit and run or.
So this is like a good example of a balanced knife. It has less health, or it gives less health. It has the same downside as the kunai, but you get a speed boost upon killing someone. It doesn't even matter if it's a backstab or not. As long as you kill them, you get the speed boost. And this can lead to some pretty big chains. He just did one here. Obviously, they're kind of distracted with other agent down the hill, but it can definitely lead to some crazy chains.
Or a possible chain stab, or a possible trick stab with our movement speed. As simple as that. Afterward, we have the Icicle, with the least impressive stats of all, as it has a 50% fire resistance, meaning that you could survive the arsonist for a few more seconds, and this neat little ice sculpture effect whenever you back someone, with the disadvantage of having less.
So this is pretty useful against arsonists. In TF2, your knife melts, and I think you have to wait like 10 seconds for it to regen, but this one, you don't take fire damage at all, or afterburn damage at all, but the fire damage is cut in half. I think it's just a really good option against arsonists, but it's not really a good choice if you're trying to get kills, just because it doesn't have an upside once you get the kill. It is just lowering your health to take less damage from arsonists. So I'd only use it if it's arsonists are a big problem for you, or there's a good arsonist in the server.
Health. Not really the best knife out there, since while it counters agent's biggest counter, do know this is only for a few seconds, which means more surviving him, and maybe just a chance you could kill him. Furthermore, the ice effect is only for show-offs, and with the disadvantage lesser health stat, it is easily the least useful knife on agent, and highly not recommend for any agent players at all. To have something that is much useful, how about the eternal reward, the shapeshifter knife? After a successful kill using the knife, you can instantly disguise to the player you killed without noise, the silent kill, meaning that enemies would not notice you shapeshift so soon, but it would still be noticeable if you backstab someone in front of their.
So yeah, obviously the year is pretty good. I don't see a lot of people using it, and when people do use it, they just aren't really smart about it. They will switch disguises often, which removes your entire cloak meter. But how you should be using it is get your disguise at spawn. Just get some general disguise that'll fool anybody from anywhere, and try to act like how that class would play. That's what I was talking about earlier. Learn how to play the other classes so you know how they would be positioned and how they move.
You. The disadvantage would be agent's clock meter will be instantly gone when you try to disguise as anyone, as well as having a longer declock time, which is not really that much, but it requires greatly changing playstyle. Good for payloads or King of the Hills or any rounds where the players are too distracted. And while I'm not a fan of how weird it feels when there are no noise, it is actually very.
The knife is just really good for bigger fights. Like obviously if you're fighting against a smaller team, it's not going to be of much use, but when everyone is distracted with something and there's just a lot of noise going on, this is a really good pick.
Hopeful and kind of fun. It is a great pretend you do not exist weapon, especially if it is instant. Anyways, recommend for high level agent gameplays once you practice.
I think he should have took note about the different passives that you get from using the Eternal Ward. I forget all of them now, but each different type of class you disguise as, you get a specific passive, such as healing or a damage resistance or a damage buff, which is pretty helpful and is actually something that not a lot of people talk about.
Now, we have the last but the latest knife that agent has, and it is the Wraith, which is just the worst. Now, listen to this, that makes me disappointed. Unlike any other knife, even the Icicle, this knife does not, repeat, does not one-shot backstab anyone, and instead, it is only guarantees mini crit every time. Why would anyone even think of this?
So this is the newer knife add to the game, I think about a year ago, and it was added with 2 other weapons. But besides that, the knife is obviously not capable of getting backstab. It does mini crits instead, and so it encourages you to use your gun more, which I personally don't like. I think the whole reason people do play agent is for the satisfying backstabs, but this comes with the support kind of side of agent, which helps with giving health to the rest of the team with the overheal. There's a speed boost as well, which are very impactful and can throw off other teams about that health of your teammates. This is a pretty overpowered support knife, in my opinion, but given that I have never bought this knife before, I've only gone against it just because I don't think the 3 weapons that were introduced in the update were integral to the game's design.
This has to be the worst knife ever made. Even though it is a magic one, it is still called a knife, just like that piece of ice. You are essentially removing what agents stand for. She is a femme fatale, the most competent and most independent woman there is. The woman who could kick and kill you without noticing.
Alright bro, what is this glaze?
Now you're telling me that she is not dead anymore? That has to be a joke. In my opinion, it is already an F tier, but it can also be on par, or maybe, just maybe, a little better than the Icicle. For the nerve of having guaranteed mini crits, equipping this knife gives each.
It is just centered around helping the team rather than getting flashy kills, and so that's why I guess he's rating it low, but it is pretty overpowered.
New features, spells and magic. There are 2 spells, the Respite and the Haze spell. You can shift your spell by holding R and press R once to cast it. Respite gives 75 health and removes debuffs to your friends, costing 1 magic bar. Haze gives you and the surrounding friends bonus movement speed for a few seconds, costing 2 magic. The only way to restore magic bars is by either kills or assists, not ammo packs or even the lockers. You can gain 2 magic by kills and 1 by assists. While I love every agent update there is, and I love how they essentially made her a witch, this is just terrible. I do not know if anyone even likes this knife. I never seen it so far ever since 10 servers ago. Anyways, recommend if you want to be a true support by not picking the back.
It is definitely one of the more frustrating things to go against. Agent is naturally pretty frustrating to go against just because people are like, oh, like the hitbox is broken. That's a separate issue. But I think the most annoying thing is actually the spy camera just because it reveals it's like ESP for free.
But apparently, picking targets in the front with your teammates. Anyways everyone, that has been the tips and tricks these two agent mains never told you. Do you agree with what I said?
So overall, an okay video. It didn't really go too in-depth on how to play Agent effectively, but it did offer some standard advice to get near players trying things out. I think my favorite tip from the video was when he was talking about staying calm, which is something I've actually never heard from anyone before. And I think being calm truly determines whether you progress at becoming a better agent or not. But on the other hand, I think the least useful tip was the telefragging one. He didn't really go too in depth on it, and telefragging is barely viable unless you're going against literal cashew brain players. That being said, thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll be able to start making more videos soon. Bye.